Mufussy's got the rage, let it flow. Holding on to stories, tales untold. He's the king of the ring, the last man standing. Dropkick the Commute.
Hello and welcome to Dropkick the Commute. We are fresh off the heels off of a hot fucking AEW Revolution, man. That was an insane pay-per-view. So many good matches on the card, like most of them were incredible, except the main event, and we'll get into that in a minute. This card was so solid. I think this was one of the best AEW pay-per-views in a long time. Like, World's End was solid, but you had the Continental Classic, and those matches were good, but it was nothing insane. This pay-per-view was good start to finish, except the main event. For the most part, everyone on this card absolutely delivered. I would say over-delivered as well. And I was just astounded watching this show. So let's hop into it. Before we hop into it, I have been playing a lot of WWE 2K25. I finished Showcase and I finished Chapter 1 of The Island. I guess Chapter 2 is not out yet. I tried to stream My Rise, and My Rise was broken on Xbox when I went to launch it. It immediately crashed, and it did that until yesterday. Yesterday they put out a patch for it, and it finally works now, so I will be streaming My Rise very soon. I'm at least starting it. I don't know if I'll stream the entire thing of My Rise, but we'll get some My Rise content out here pretty soon. I've been playing a lot of Bloodline Rules matches. Those are a ton of fun. WWE 2K25 overall is just a very solid game so far. I know there are a lot of issues with, like, creating stuff. Like, a lot of 2K creators are having issues with the creation suite and everything, but for me, I don't do that too much. I mostly just play the game, and you know, I've been having a fun time with it. I also enjoy the island too. I think it's going to have a lot of fun, like, daily content. I'm interested to see how often they add the chapters, because Chapter 1 was pretty short, so we'll see when Chapter 2 comes out here. I know the game is not technically out yet. It comes out this Friday, but so far it's been a very solid, fun experience. But enough about 2K. We are here to talk about AEW Revolution. I did not give a fuck about the pre-show matches, except Big Boom AJ and the Conglomeration versus Johnny TV and MXM Collection. The match itself, it was fine, but the shit in it was so goofy and so silly. This was Big Boom AJ's return since he, you know, broke his foot. And we had Orange Cassidy and Mark Briscoe come out. The Rizzler came out dressed up in Orange Cassidy's, you know, gimmick with the denim and everything, and it was some of the funniest shit I have ever seen on my television screen before. I tell you what, brother, so goofy. Then the match itself was whatever, but the big moment of this match was Big Justice came into the ring and fucking power bombed, I think, Mansoor. I think he power bombed Mansoor, but he power bombed Mansoor off of the turnbuckle while AJ was holding him in the corner. Massive pop for that. It was so fun. Like, it was a fun match. It's just goofy wrestling and just a fun, like, family silly moment, you know. Hopping into the main card now, Hangman Adam Page versus MJF. I thought this match was fine. I don't think it was anything crazy, but it was a decent, solid wrestling match from MJF and Hangman. This one was a solid build because you had Hangman and MJF, so those two know how to build stories. They know what they're doing, and I think this was, it paid off. It was a smaller feud, you know. It wasn't anything insane, and I think it was a good opener for the show. However, I do think that Jon Moxley versus Cope should have opened, and I'll get to that when I talk about the main event. I think that match opening the show would have been so much better and would have made this pay-per-view, like, flawless. I genuinely think that, and I'll get to, you know, Jon Moxley and Cope, because that was a shit show, if I'm being honest. Hangman Adam Page and MJF, I thought, you know, overall they did decently fine. MJF got dropped right on his fucking face, so props to MJF, because that shit must have hurt, man. Mercedes Moné versus Momo Watanabe. I thought this match was fine as well. Mercedes matches can be good or bad, but I thought this one was decent. Definitely one of the stronger matches Mercedes has had, but not at the top at all. It was solid. I really don't have too much to say about it. I thought it was a decent showing, and I thought it was good for where it was placed in the card. It just fucking heated up throughout the night. So Mercedes did retain her title, of course. That's, I'm pretty sure, what everyone was expecting. I haven't seen Momo wrestle too much. I did watch Wrestle Dynasty, the New Japan CMLL AEW collab show that they did, you know. I did watch Wrestle Dynasty, so I saw Momo win that match, and she called out Mercedes to, you know, battle for the TBS title. That's really all I've ever seen of Momo. I don't watch Stardom. I don't watch New Japan. So this match I thought was decent from both of them, and I thought it was a good, you know, second match on the card. Swerve Strickland and Ricochet. This was really good. Their build on Dynamite last week was kind of meh with their promo in the ring. The match paid off, I thought, and this was for the #1 contendership for the AEW World title, and Swerve ended up defeating Ricochet, you know, with a pin, and we had a gnarly Swerve stomp. He ended it the same way that he ended his match with Samoa Joe at Dynasty, so kind of foreshadowing to maybe Swerve will beat Mox for the world title and save AEW. Of course, with any Ricochet and Swerve match, we had some crazy, like, high-flying spots. We had a crazy bump on the commentary table that they did, and that shit did not break, dude. They did, Swerve did a vertebreaker to Ricochet on the commentary table, on the Spanish announce table. It did not break at all, and Ricochet looked rough, dude. Like, that shit must have hurt. Of course, in this match, you had the story of, you know, Nana's robe and all that stuff, and there was a moment where Nana actually, like, walked out because Swerve was kind of beating the shit out of Ricochet and then pushed Nana, and Nana was like, what the fuck, man? And then he ended up walking out, but he came back later to help Swerve win the match, and Swerve ended up giving Nana the robe, and Nana ended up putting the robe on Swerve. So they are still buddy-buddy. They are still best friends or whatever. And Ricochet, I think, has been doing a great job as a heel so far, and this match paid off overall. Okada versus Brody King, another solid match. Again, we saw some tease of this match in the tag match that we had on Dynamite last week. I think it was Dynamite or it was Collision. I don't know, but they were in a tag match with Swerve and Ricochet. I thought this was pretty decent, and it held up to the tease that they had in that tag match. Okada came out, and Okada's entrance is so good. They have the circular, like, laser around him, so there's like a bunch of lasers in a circle that he stands in, and then, you know, the Rainmaker intro hits and shit. It's such a good entrance. I absolutely love that. They showed it at Grand Slam Australia the first time, and this entrance is so solid. It gives him aura, if you will. We had a couple of Rainmakers in there, a couple of, you know, gnarly spots, but Okada did end up retaining from Brody King, which, again, I kind of expected here. We had the Hurt Syndicate versus the Outrunners, and this was a solid match as well. This was the shortest match on the card, actually. But, you know, it showed a typical Hurt Syndicate match. I did not think the Outrunners were going to win this, but they definitely put on a solid show against the Hurt Syndicate. They held up a little bit. The Hurt Syndicate, of course, came out fucking just brutal offense to the Outrunners the entire time. Dude, their entrance in an arena that big filled with 10,000 people. Gotta say, by the way, they filled the Crypto.com arena, so that's pretty massive. Obviously, formerly the Staples Center. The Staples Center is historic for wrestling, and they filled that arena, which was very surprising. But, you know, their pay-per-views do usually do well, and with a crowd that big, it really helped the show quite a bit. The Hurt Syndicate came out, we got the "We Hurt People" chants, and with that many people, it went so hard. Like, the unmatched faction in AEW right now, in my opinion. I think they're so solid. Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin did retain. They're still the tag team champions. I think they're going to have the tag team championships for a long time. I really don't know who they're going to lose them to. Maybe the Young Bucks come back eventually and they lose to the Young Bucks or something like that. But I don't even think they would lose to the Young Bucks, if I'm being honest. I think that would be really cool if the Young Bucks do come back. They challenge the Hurt Syndicate, but then the Hurt Syndicate still like overpowers them and they're like, yeah, we're here to stay. Like, we are the tag team champions. Fucking take it from us, you know? Next 3 matches, absolute bangers, bell to bell. Timeless Toni Storm versus Mariah May. This is the match I was most excited for the night, and this was a bloody fucking mess, dude. Like, I was astounded by how brutal this match was. It was absolutely insane. Toni Storm was doing her entrance and Mariah May ran from the ring and just immediately attacked her. We had a lot of fights on the ramp, and Mariah May fucking pulls out a taser from her flowers. She pulls out a taser and goes to use it against Luther. Luther stops her, and then Mariah May kicks him and pushes him over a table that he falls over. Her and Toni Storm, Toni fucking powerbombs Mariah May off the stage onto some tables with like a bunch of equipment on it. They end up fighting to the ring, and there was a moment where Mariah does a package pile driver onto the stairs. Toni Storm starts bleeding, and she is gushing blood. Like, there was a camera shot where they had a tight on her face, and it was literally like bloop, bloop, like just dripping out, like gushing out of her head, and it was nutty. It did not stop there though, because we ended up getting glass and champagne bottles in this, and Toni Storm pulls out 2 tubs with champagne bottles in them and then broken glass, and she tosses Mariah May a roll of tape, and they end up taping their hands, and in some fucking Daredevil-esque fashion, fucking put the tape on her hands, put their fist into the tub of glass, and they have glass on their fists, and they start punching each other. Mariah May gets busted open. They're both bloody messes. The ring is filled with blood. There's glass everywhere. It looked like a fucking murder scene. And to top it off, Mariah May takes a champagne bottle and fucking just low blows Toni Storm with the bottle of glass. I had no words when I was watching this. I was watching this fucking mouth wide open, and I was like, holy fuck. Just absolutely brutal. Toni Storm ends up getting, you know, the shoe. Watch for the shoe. She ends up getting the shoe, and her and Mariah make her way back up to the ramp. I am really summarizing here. You guys gotta watch this match. It was fucking insane and such a good ending to their feud. They end up going up to the ramp, and Toni Storm just takes the heel of the shoe and just fucking bop, 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 bop. And then she sends Mariah May through a table. They fall off, and they're both laying there. She pins her, and Toni is laying on top of her, just like hugging her, essentially. I imagine some words were said there together, you know, some whispers said to each other, but they were laying there, and then it says the end on the screen after Toni gets the 1, 2, 3. Just such a good ending. Like, when they said Hollywood ending, this was very much the Hollywood ending. It was such a good fucking match and such a good ending. I wish it was longer, and high key, I wish it main evented. If you swap this with the main event, gave them more time, made this match the main event, and had Jon Moxley and Cope open the show, literally would have been a perfect card, in my opinion. But we're not there yet. We're not going to talk about that match yet. We are going to talk about Kenny Omega and Konosuke Takeshita. This was a solid match. Once again, always delivers bangers after banger after banger. And of course, Takeshita targeting the stomach. They're really driving home, hey, Kenny Omega went through a lot to get here. Obviously recovered, had that surgery, and he's targeting the stomach the entire time. There was a moment where Takeshita fucking dropped Kenny Omega on a like sideways table. Ow. Ow. That's all I have to say is ow to that shit. Don Callis, of course, got involved numerous times. There was a point where he goes out and like goes to punch Kenny Omega, and he's like punching him, and then he's like, hurt my hand. His skull's too strong. Like he's punching him, and he just goes back to commentary, and he's like, He's like, I feel unsafe out here. But again, just another classic hard-hitting banger between Kenny Omega and Takeshita. Like, we know how they go. We know they can fucking hang together. And they absolutely did. Kenny Omega did end up getting the pin after a couple of V-triggers. And Kenny Omega is now the new international champion. That's very exciting. I hope Kenny Omega defends it in other promotions as much as Takeshita did. You know, Takeshita, we saw defend it in MLP, which was really hype. It would be so cool to see Kenny Omega on that next show. And of course, all over the world too, you know, CMLL, New Japan, all that good stuff. It'd be really hype to see Kenny Omega go all over the place just like Takeshita did. Then the second most fucking brutal, insane match of the night was the cage match between Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. Will Ospreay's entrance, he had some like EDM shit going on. I made a joke. I was like, POV, you enter the Animus and become the aerial assassin. I feel like that's probably what he was going for. Because it was like, I am on another level, bruv. And then it went into like an EDM song, and the way that the Tron looked, it was like you were entering the Animus to become Will Ospreay. That's how I thought of it. So if that's what he was aiming for, good job. You fucking did it, Will. Will Ospreay is making his entrance, lots of pyro, climbs the cage, and we got this shot that was just absolute cinema with Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher both standing on the cage. Everyone's chanting, Ospreay, Ospreay. And, you know, they're just staring needles at each other. They're just like staring each other right in the eyes. And then the brutality began. Will Ospreay got busted open real early in this match. Kyle Fletcher, you know, threw him into the cage. Immediately gets busted open. So, you know, he's got a ton of blood loss in this match. His whole face was red at one point. There was another point. I'm skipping a lot here, but, you know, lots of high-flying stuff here. Lots of fun stuff off the cage. Crazy Os cutter off the cage. He climbed, like, I would say probably halfway up and then did an Os cutter to Kyle Fletcher in the ring, which was so fire. There was a point when Mark Davis comes in with, like, a tool bag, and he takes out some, you know, wire cutters and cuts the cage lock, opens the door, and he ends up pulling out a barbed wire bat. Well, no, actually, Will Ospreay fights him off, and then in the tool bag is a barbed wire bat. Will Ospreay takes it out, and he starts beating up Kyle Fletcher with it, takes the barbed wire and fucking rubs it against Kyle Fletcher's head, of course. We had thumbtacks in this. A fucking styles clash on the thumbtacks was insane. I cannot imagine how much that must have hurt. And the craziest part was a kind of wonky looking but very insane Spanish fly off the top of the cage. They both climbed up there and they were fighting for control of the screwdriver. Will Ospreay ends up getting it and he chucks it off the cage, and then they, you know, beat each other up a little bit, stand up and do the shooting star press. And Will Ospreay gets up shortly after, and he's standing in the corner, and Kyle goes, I fucking hate you. I hate you. Do it, you coward. And he fucking hit him blades Kyle Fletcher and gets the pin. And Don Callis, of course, loses his mind. But this was just so brutal and so insane of a match, dude. Like, it got everyone so hyped up and so ready. And then there was a garbage fucking main event. Absolute dog shit. I don't know what Tony Khan was thinking, dude. This was literally a perfect show. And then you have this main event. And I don't even know what to say. Again, the main event should have opened the show, have Tony and Mariah main event. It would have been perfect. 10 out of 10 drop kicks from me. But no. We had Cope and Mox fight for the AEW World Championship. And it was slow. And it was boring. And the crowd was bored after the 3 matches that they just witnessed. You had a bored ass crowd watching 2 old men elbow each other for minutes at a time. Very slow. Jon Moxley was pretty much just beating up Cope the entire time. And then eventually the ref gets knocked out. And Wheeler Yuta comes out. And he starts beating on Cope. After everything that happened on Dynamite last week, Wheeler Yuta still beats on Cope. Jay White comes out to save Cope. And he ends up hitting Edge. Or hitting Cope, whatever. He ends up... I'm calling Edge his old name because I'm so mad about this match. Jay White comes up. He ends up hitting Cope. What did I just say? Jay White comes out. He ends up hitting Cope. Cope gets knocked out. And he's laying there on the ground. And Jay White and Wheeler Yuta end up fighting out of the arena. Cope goes to... He's like about to spear Mox. And Christian Cage comes out with the briefcase. Okay, love this. Possibly able to save this match. Christian Cage comes out, knocks out Cope with this case, cashes in. It's now a 3-way match for the AEW World Championship. Incredible. Spears Cope, doesn't get the pin. Okay, you can maybe still save this. Christian then goes to pin again. He then goes to pin Cope again, and Mox grabs him, and he starts to, make him tap out. Christian slowly, puts his hand on Cope to become a pinfall. It counts 1, 2, and then Mox pulls him aside, and Christian fucking taps. He passes out, dude. You had a fresh Christian. Fresh. Hasn't wrestled in weeks. That's probably not true, but you have a fresh Christian come out, cash in his contract for a championship opportunity, and immediately get fucking tapped out. Doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you not have Edge beat Mox? This is perfect. Let me fantasy book real quick. Wheeler Yuta takes in everything that Cope told him on Dynamite. Right? Turns on Mox. Incredible. Great. Mox loses the title to Cope. Cope freaks out. He's like, hell yeah, I saved AEW. Christian comes out, fucking destroys a tired Cope, wins the title from Cope. Makes Cope's reign last 3 seconds. Then have Swerve come out, build up that hype to Dynasty, which is next month. You have Christian versus Swerve. Or you make it a triple threat because Cope's like, oh my God, you fucking cost me my title, you asshole. Have a triple threat at Dynasty, have Swerve win, and then have Cope versus Christian at All In Texas. I genuinely don't understand why you wouldn't do that. Now you're saying, where does Mox fit in? What the fuck has Mox and the Death Riders been doing anyway in the first place? They're just there, fucking, they don't have a motivation, they have nothing, dude. Grinds my gears. But I think that would have been so much better. And even if you had this whole result, it was cool to see Swerve jump off the barricade and, take out Mox when the match was over and build that hype, so you sent the crowd home a little happy. And people, started chanting Swerve's house and kind of got back in the show a little bit. But that's right at the very, very end. Why would you not have this match first and then send the crowd home with a holy shit moment on their faces after Timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May? That should have main evented, but instead they made it so short and put it on, 8th, counting the pre-show matches. Doesn't make any sense to me. They had the perfect pay-per-view in their sights, and then they fucked it up with this main event. Other than that, absolutely incredible show. I thought this was one of the best AEW pay-per-views in a while, and I was behind every single match, and it was so good start to finish, except the main event. Like, it would have been perfect. It would have been incredible. But overall, let me know your thoughts on AEW Revolution. Let me know what you thought of the show. Give me your hot takes, all that shit. If you want to leave some hot takes, we do have a hot take hotline. You can leave it down in the description, or you can just leave your comments on the video as well. Let me know what you thought of AEW Revolution. I am going to give it 4.2 Dropkicks out of 5 because the main event really fucked it up for me. I was so mad about the main event, but that's what I'm going to give it, 4.2 Dropkicks out of 5. Let me know your thoughts down below. Again, I'll be putting out some 2K content soon. I'll probably stream it on my personal channel, twitch.tv/Mufussy, if you want to check me out there. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody. Beep, beep. Beep, beep. Beep, beep. Beep, beep.